Classification of carbon steels. In this classification of carbon steel, is carbon is the main alloying element in the carbon steel material. So in this carbon steel, manganese is not exceed 1.6 percentage, copper and silicon is less than 0.6 percentage. Okay, in carbon steel, so carbon is the main alloying element. The manganese is not exceed 1.6 percentage, copper and silicon is less than 0.6 percentage. So in carbon steel, composition of carbon is up to 1.5 percentage, copper is 0.6, manganese is 1.6, and silicon is 0.6 percentage in commonly. So the characteristics of carbon steel is the carbon steel is a ductile nature. So it is used to make the steel strip, bar, plates, tubes, and wire materials. So its application is so automobile and structural members, bearings, plates, and housing. Okay, is carbon steel is a common nature. So in this carbon steel is classified into three categories. Okay, is the low carbon steel material. So carbon content is up to less than 0.25% carbon is the ferrite and pearlite structure. Is the medium carbon steel is the carbon percentage is 0.25 to up to 0.6% carbon is the martensite nature. In the high carbon steel material, it is the carbon content is 0.6 to 2% of carbon is the pearlitic nature structures. So in the low carbon steel material, okay, is the carbon content is less than 0.2% of carbon is the ferrite and pearlite structure. So in this low carbon steel have some impurities of during melting. So the manganese, silicon, sulfur, and phosphorus materials is some impurities. So in this low carbon steel is difficult to heat treatment process due to the so carbon content is less. Okay, so carbon up to 0.25, so it is difficult to heat treatment process. The hardness of the material is 150 bhn, okay, brittle hardness number. So increase the strength by the case carding process only for surface carding. Okay, surface or haze carding process, flame carding or induction carding process, okay, only suitable for increase the strength of the low carbon steel material. So it is difficult to do the heat treatment process. Is the next the cold work process. Okay, so it is the class low carbon steel material. Okay, so is the properties of this low carbon steel is it is a soft and weak material, so low hardness and cost, the high ductility properties, high toughness material is the high toughness and good machinability. So low carbon content is very less, so it is a good machinability and good weldability properties. Okay, is the properties of carbon steel, low carbon steel material. Is the application is nuts, bolts, wire hinges, washer, screws, automobile body, seats, square, round rods, plates, and wire shapes, low temperature pressure vessels. Okay, so another one is the structural applications for building bars, grills, beams, angles, and channel sections. Okay, this is the application of low carbon steel material. Okay, so next is the medium carbon steel material. So the medium carbon steel material is the carbon content is up to 0.25 to 0.6% carbon. Is the naturally this is a martensite structure. The medium tensile strength and the hardness of material. The hardness is up to 300. Okay, Brinell hardness number. The hardness is increased. Okay, by the heat treatment process. Okay, to austenizing. Okay, so low carbon steel is difficult to do the heat treatment process. So in this medium carbon steel, it is applicable for heat treatment process. Okay, is possible for heat treatment due to the carbon content is 0.25 to 0.6 percentage. Is the cold work is difficult, the hot work is preferable. Okay, the carbon is high, so cold work is not is difficult one. It's a hard work is preferable one. The properties of this material is low hardenability of the material, medium strength, ductility, and toughness. Okay, medium strength, ductility, and toughness for this material. So applications of this material is mainly used for wire rope, turbine bucket wheels, railway trucks, gears, railway wheels, shafts, connecting rods, spindles, hooks, steering arm, rail axles, and machine parts, couplings, and cold head parts. So this is the applications of the medium carbon steel material. So next one is the final one is a high carbon steel. So the carbon content is 0.6 to 2 percentage of carbon is the periodic structure. So is the high tensile strength harness than the other carbon steel material. Okay, the low compared to the low carbon and medium carbon steel material, the high carbon steel material is the high strength and tensile strength in the harness of the material. The harness is 500 BSN. Okay, Brinell harness number. The harness is 500. The harness is increased by heat treatment process. Okay, the medium carbon steel and high carbon steel is harness is increased by heat treatment process. Is not cold work is difficult, the hot work only preferable one. So this is the high carbon steel material. These properties is high harness strength and low ductility properties and more wear resistance of the material. So carbon content is high, so this ductility less, the brittleness will increase. So also the wear resistance also increase. Okay, so this application of this material, cutting tool and die, chisels, punches, wrenches, railway wheels, files, razors, springs, wire, some music wire, saws, drills, rods for concrete and hexa blades. Okay, this is the application of the high carbon steel material. Okay, this process totally three carbon steels classified into three categories. Okay, low carbon steel, medium carbon steel and high carbon steel material. So low means carbon content are less than 0.25 percentage carbon, medium carbon steel 0.25 0.6, the high carbon steel is 0.6 to 2% of carbon. Okay, low carbon steel is so ferrite structure some impurities during the melting process. Okay, manganese, silicon, sulfur and phosphorus, it is difficult to do heat treatment. So because these have low carbon content, so this is the heat treatment is difficult. The harness is 150 bhn, increases strength by the haze hardening process, flame hardening, induction. Okay, so the hardening process, the cold work is preferable one. Properties is soft and weak, low hardness and cost, high ductility, high toughness, hood metal between hood availability, nuts, bolt, wires, hinges, washers, screws, automobile body. Okay, low temperature pressure vessels, structural applications, building bars, grills, beam, angles, and channel sections. So the medium carbon steel Martensite structure, medium tensile strength and harness. Harness is built 300 bhn. Increase the harness increased by heat treatment process to organizing. Cold work is difficult, so hard work is preferable one. So properties is low hardenability, medium strength, ductility and toughness. The application is mainly for wire rope, turbine bucket wheels, railway trucks, gears, railway wheels, shaft connecting rods, spindle hooks, steering arms, rail axles and machine parts, couplings and cold head parts. Okay, these the applications of medium carbon steel material. So high carbon steel is a Ferrite structure, the high tensile strength and harness then compared to the other carbon steel material. Harness is 500 bhn, harness number. Harness is increased by some heat treatment process. It is not cold work is difficult. See, the hot work is preferable one. Properties high harness and strength and low ductility and more wear resistance properties is application to the cutting tool, ties, chisels, punches, wrenches, railway wheels, boils, razors, springs, wire, music wire, saws, drills, rods for concrete and hacks of blades. Okay, thank you.